we are going to talk about zoning a little bit today. So I'm primarily going to focus on Seattle, City of Seattle proper. There's other resources that we can utilize for properties that we are either our buyers are buying or that we're listing that are out of area. But the first thing I kind of want to touch on is when we talk about zoning, so why is zoning important? It's not only, you know, what people can do there, but when you're listing a property, or obviously if you're working with a developer, they're going to be concerned with highest and best use for the property. So the value of a property is always going to be in what's the highest and best use for that property. So if you have a fantastic house, not too old, updated, whatever, that's sitting on a lot, but it's on a lot that's zoned, you know, LR1 or something low rise or neighborhood commercial or something like that, even though it's a great house and someone might buy it to just live there, you know, as their family, but when you're pricing a house, you want to make sure that we're looking at what's the highest and best use for the property. So the property might be worth more when you look at just what you can do there, right? What's the price, what's the value to a developer who's going to, you know, bulldoze the house and build whatever, 3 new units or something because of the zoning there, right? So it's important to kind of keep note of that when we are, hey Casey, when looking at a property, okay? So one thing that I pull up, and as you guys can imagine, the City of Seattle's website is not quite as fantastic as it could be in terms of finding resources. But one thing that I want to pull up are some of these sheets, and I can send these out to all of us here who are in class. These are kind of cheat sheet zoning charts from the City of Seattle. So these can be handy as kind of a quick reference. So any individual property, we're going to want to research a little bit more in depth. But when you're looking at kind of general rules like, you know, for this zoning, what's the setbacks? You know, what's the height limit, right? Someone says something like, this is a 2-story house, can I add another story on top? Or it's a 1.5, right? I want to pop it up a little bit. So some of those can be answered with these quick cheat sheets. And I'm zoomed in quite a bit here, but this prints off just on 8.5 by 11s. But so we have here single family SF 5000 for lot size, or 7200, 9600, and we kind of have some information of what can be done there. Lot coverage, so the maximum lot coverage, and we take all these with a grain of salt because the city has rules that are built in where you can kind of sidestep some of these rules a little bit, or bend rather than break. I guess that's a better description of it. Bend some of these rules. But height limits, so, you know, lots wider than 30 feet, maximum 30 feet, 30 feet or less for width, maximum 25 feet. Roof pitch, you know, so a pitched roof may exceed the max height by 5 feet. Different stuff like this can be handy to like memorize real quick. So when you're out looking at houses, if you have a client who's thinking about doing work to a house and they're asking some questions like this, you can also obviously have these printed out to hand them or to reference yourself. And then there are some different categories of single family, right? So residential small lot, 1 house per lot, kind of skinny homes like this. We see some of those in West Seattle. Tandem housing is another zoning addition. And then cottage housing. So RSLT, RSLC, if you see stuff like that, this is what it's referencing. And again, kind of what you can build on those lots. Yeah?
So the 2 and the 4, those are all one lot?
Yeah. So the dotted line here in this little cheat sheet is kind of the property lines. So it kind of shows what you can do. So if you are looking at a lot that has single-family RSLC, that'll allow cottage housing. And so, for example, if you're kind of trying to eyeball it, front yard, minimum 5 feet, average of 10 feet in the front yard, spaces between the houses, minimum 6 feet, right? So all this kind of stuff. Side yards, just to kind of help people eyeball what could be done on that property. Another thing that I'll touch on real quick is this first page of this single family stuff has a little blurb about ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
Where was this part? Under,
So this,
yeah, I'm on this. I
Yeah.
just say that,
So-
where's the find the notes?
first page.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I see it.
Yep. So we are on this
Okay.
first page here, and just down a little bit. It talks about a lot of this stuff, but accessory dwelling units. So anybody who's asking you about, you know, if I buy this house, can I build an ADU in the back, or detached accessory dwelling unit? You know, they are allowed in single family zoning, but definitely want to do some more research and ideally have them speak with the city, just to talk about their plans and what's required on their lot, stuff like that.
It also says that it requires the owner to occupy at least one of the units
Mhm.
as primary for at least 6 months
Yeah,
per year.
yeah, so
So you couldn't do that and then rent both of them out.
exactly, the rules change, if someone's buying it purely as an investment property and they're gonna rent it out, the rules change a little bit.
It would be more of a duplex situation.
Yeah, we'd have to look into the zoning to see, you know, if I don't live there, what are my requirements? You know, is the lot large enough to where I can have a detached dwelling unit in the back? Because I think there's some different things that come into play, like access and stuff like that. If you don't live there, I think you might have to provide a, you know, driveway or something like that, or a way to get back there. I don't know, that would require some more research. But so we have single family, and then there's also, there's industrial zoning and stuff like that, but we don't see too much of that. But NC, neighborhood commercial, and multifamily.
Where's that?
They're different, so again, I Googled Seattle neighborhood commercial zoning
Got it.
chart and pulled up this. I was looking for like 40 minutes yesterday on the City of Seattle website because I wanted a location where as zoning changes, I could go back there and grab these. The single family one I found pretty quickly on Seattle.gov, but these ones were a lot harder to find. I couldn't find them. But I just Googled it as like an image search and pulled these up. Still a good idea to talk to the city though, because they do update these from time to time. This one is from January 2016, it's the most recent I could find. But Department of Construction and Inspections is who's gonna handle all this stuff for you and your clients.
Department of,
Construction and Inspections, that's who handles zoning and what can be built where, all that good stuff.
So were you able to find this?
No,
Neighborhood commercial, affordable housing quantities, neighborhood commercial 40 mixed use large site. I got this off Seattle.gov, I just,
yeah, I think I've seen, yeah, Christian's looking at kind of a colorful graphic. So what I was looking for was specifically these like 1 or 2 pagers
I got you, Shed.
that are, well, you know, just like you can print them out all day and hand them out or reference them yourself. Yeah, that's a little bit more of an in-depth thing.
Neighborhood commercial mixed use.
Yep. So as it relates to neighborhood commercial, these sheets are all laid out similarly. NC1, NC3 kind of goes into some details of what the differences are there. Anything that has a P, pedestrian designated zones,
Hey, I found it.
on Seattle.gov. Will you send the?
It was the first one, I'll do it right now.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead and send the URL.
You got it.
Thank you, Christian.
Teamwork.
Yes. So those are some quick cheat sheets, and you should be able to find some more as well. Generally, we're dealing with single family, multifamily, and a neighborhood commercial in West Seattle. But there's also some interactive maps that I want to pull up. And I'll send out these links as well. The first one is for some current zoning as it relates to some of the changes that were put into place in April of
Oh, right.
2019. So this is mandatory housing affordability changes, but it goes into the current zoning of what we're at. So I think Justin sent me this link a few months back. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's, for anybody that's looking at a house, I always type in that address because it just changed in April.
Yeah.
And there's been quite a few changes, so
Yep. So
it's
all-
nice and simple. You just type in the address and see if anything changed.
Exactly, yeah, so, these are current zoning that are in effect right now. So for example, if we kind of zoom in, on the junction area here, you know, let's say, that's Fauntleroy, what's this one here? It's California. Yeah, but let's say, so if this is the house right here, zoom in some more.
Well, the perfect example would be Paul and Melanie's project on Brandon and Fauntleroy.
Right there.
2 singles family lots here, I think you're on it.
Yeah, right
And
in here.
It got changed into 6 attached townhomes, and then I don't know what the next little bit's gonna be, it looks like 6 more, 8 more.
Yep, yeah. So for, just for talking about it today, for our purposes, let's just say that, you know, this is our lot, right here, that someone's looking at or someone's thinking about listing. You know, so you can click that, and it tells you right over here. And you can also type in the address in the search bar here, obviously. But you can also click on it on the map. Tells you zoning here is LR1M. And it gives you some quick breakdown of kind of what that means. LR1, you know, we can go pull up our multifamily zoning, I think, cheat sheet. LR1, right? So we can kind of see some of the requirements. They're still small. You know, lot area, setbacks, building heights, all that good stuff. For the zone here. Scroll down a little bit, we obviously have our little legend over here, where if you zoom out and you want to kind of see how that plays into the larger neighborhood, what zones are where, you can kind of see that as well. So a good idea, if you guys have any past clients or contacts in your database who lives in one of these zones, good idea to touch base with them and just, you know, the changes happened in April and, you know, everybody was put on notice and they've probably been getting letters from investors and all that kind of stuff, but just make sure that they're aware and you know, so they understand that you're on top of it too, so if they were to ever want to sell, you know, you're a resource for them, you're the person to call, right? So that is the zoning map. There's also a property homeowner GIS map, which can help with things like locating water supply lines, drain lines, and environmental areas. So with something like this, you can type in the address of a property here. It'll pull it up. What I do is I just jump to number 4, which is make your own homeowner research map, and then you can pick from this list of layers. But if I just wanted to see, you know, my water system, zoom out a little bit, go to another property. These are fire hydrants, by the way, all these blue dots. Just zoom in on some random house. Here we go. So let's say this one on the corner here. So this is the water main out of the street, and this is the water supply line to the property. Okay, in case your client is interested for some reason, doesn't want to go locate the meter. Obviously, the meter would be on this line somewhere, but if they're wondering if it comes off of Graham or off of 36, this will tell them that. And then drainage system. People wonder, you know, where does the sewer go? Where's the sewer main? This one has a few access points that bring it in here. But I try to pull these up for every property, both listing and if someone's, definitely if your client is writing an offer, because this can help you a lot. A lot of times the sewer scope people are doing like 10 sewer scopes in a day, and so they don't always catch if like your side sewer is shared. And your client will definitely want to know that, so that if there was a break, here's a good example. Right, these two properties right here share this portion of the side sewer. So if there's a break somewhere in here, that's gonna be a split cost, as opposed to just the property owner having to deal with that, right? So a good, what's that?
I'm just excited learning about
Oh, yes. But so you can screenshot this if you want, or just print it out, to kind of, a lot of clients like to see this visualization of
I
where,
just bookmarked it, this is awesome.
yeah, where their side sewers are. Side note, if anybody's poking around on the internet, or already has, and has found where gas supply lines are from like PSE or whatever, I would love to know that link as well. Right, I know, we pick up the phone and call, because a lot of times if there's not gas to a property and client wants gas, their first question is, you know, is it already out on the street, right? And I'm assuming there's gotta be some kind of map like this that just says, you know, yes, it's right here, so they don't have to pay to bring it all in.
Yeah.
I haven't found it, so again, if anybody knows where that is, I would love to know.
I'm surprised this one doesn't include that.
Yeah, it's different, you know, PSE is kind of separate
Mm.
from the city, but, you know, again, on their website, I couldn't find it. So if anybody knows, that's awesome.
John, where did you
Yeah.
find the sewer part of that on the GIS?
So it's a different map than what we were just on for your zoning.
Yeah, I know.
But so what I did right now is over here, do you have this 1, 2, 3, 4 on the
No, I'm
left?
at the City of Construction and Inspection GIS.
Okay, are any of your filters on the right?
My filters are all different.
Yeah, we're on a little bit different, so maybe you're here. Does this look similar?
Sort of, but
Yes.
you've got different options on the right on your layer list. I've
Yeah.
got like historic districts, Seattle parks, street numbers.
What I'm gonna do is
So, hey, this is what I researched.
I'm gonna send this link out to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna take too much time
Yeah.
right now, but, I'm gonna send this to all you guys so that you have the links to these maps.
Cool, thanks.
So that's a way to see just the water access, or just the drainage system. But you can also create your own, which is number 4 on the left here. And why that is a little bit beneficial is, I have my layer list, which are these layered boxes to the right. So I currently have water service, water mains, drainage mains, and side sewers, and then environmentally critical areas here. And the only reason I pull that up is, zoom in a little bit here. Let's say for this property, still loading, there we go. So here's the outline of the structure. I think this is a deck here, and then some property lines. These are a little bit hard to see, it looks a little bit fuzzy, but this has everything that we've been talking about, from water supply to the house, drainage lines. So, you know, there's a little alley or a road down on the other side of this house, so some people, this is a slope too, so some might think that the sewer goes this way, and in fact the neighbor's sewer line does go this way, but this house's sewer line goes back up to this road. And then these yellow parts are environmentally critical areas. So if I click this, it says steep slope, 40%. Potential slide area. That's just an area that the city has identified as a, potential slide area. So there's gonna be some steep or drastic slope here.
Is
Clients, go ahead.
I'm sorry, is slope always pertaining to the critical area?
So if it's not a certain grade, the city doesn't care about it, I think. If it is a certain grade, they just throw it on some map like this to say, it's just something to be aware of, something to watch out for. Obviously by visiting a property, you can kind of tell just visually, but, on something like this, if your client was not able to see the property or they're asking questions and you haven't been there, you could say, this property looks like there is some steep slope on it, but most of it is not under the house, right? So it's not like this is a house on stilts or something that's directly over a really steep area. But on the property itself, within the property boundaries, there are some, steep slope areas. So any questions on kind of these maps? I know this isn't directly related to zoning. This does have a zoning level to it, if we wanted to check that, but it's not quite as nice and laid out, I don't think, as the other map.
Do you have any experience with the private services? Is that like cable and the private services checkbox?
I saw differences between public mains and private shared mains as well. So there's two different kinds of sewer mains apparently, or water mains.
Okay.
One's
yeah.
like an orange and one's a blue.
Could one be septic?
So I know that on
No.
one of the other maps, here, this blue is
Yeah.
water, is mainline water supply, and then this red is the supply to the actual property. Let's see here, private services. Trying to see if that's making any changes.
Potential liquefaction.
I got a screen right in front of me.
That's true.
Can you get? I thought I had all three of these.
Right now.
I'm just trying to see what that private service
Oh, side
That's
sewer
all right.
not
I just,
inspected.
it's okay. I just
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
if you had.
I don't have any
experience with that.
No, I don't. It'd be awesome if that was like
Yeah,
gas,
totally,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Checking out the legend, you've got side sewers.
Mhm.
Some of them say they're not inspected, and then some are solid lines, said side sewers, so assuming they're inspected.
On this map?
On the legend,
Oh,
like
right
halfway
here?
down,
Oh,
side
right.
sewers and laterals. Inspected by who? By the city? And if so,
Yeah, I don't know.
would we be able to get that info?
Yeah, but I mean, again, if it was inspected in, 2009.
Who cares?
Right, people are probably, and sewer scopes, I mean, we all know this, but sewer scopes, it's such a small relative cost to
Yeah.
how much headache you can
Yeah.
either find out about or save. So always
I
a
feel
good
ya.
idea to get a
Feel ya.
sewer scope. But again, good idea to visit a site like this first, just to make sure you know what direction is the sewer going,
So freaking money.
and is it shared? That's a really important one that you'll want to know. But yeah, clicking on these little arrows here, see if we can zoom in anymore. Will kind of give you the legend that Christian was talking about. Little drop-down menu of what you're looking at. So yeah, that's a lot of what I wanted to go over with zoning today, is just kind of where some of these resources are. Also, one thing that I'll mention, has anybody been to a private consultation at the city? Down on Fifth Avenue? So I've done it a couple times. You get like a free 20-minute consultation, and
Like one-on-one?
yeah, you sit down with a city planner. Whenever I've done it, I don't think you can like schedule it, meaning every time I've gone, I think you have to kind of walk in. But if you go midday-ish, you're usually only waiting a few minutes. It's not like you're gonna have to wait a couple hours or something, but you literally sit down with a city planner and they say, what address are you interested in? And they don't care if you're the owner or realtor or whatever. And whether that's a property that your client is buying and wants to do something to, or if it's a listing of yours and you just want to know more about it, you can dive into all this stuff with a city planner. You're sitting there, they pull up the property, they have all these maps and then a lot more access to what you can do. Really good idea if it's a weird shaped lot. So it's not just kind of a cookie cutter box-ish lot. If it's got some weird angles and you want to know some more about what can be built there, they're really good and fast about that. So it sounds like a headache to go into the city, but I just hop on the C line midday. It drops you off like a block from there. And you go up to like the 23rd floor or whatever. I was in and out of there in like 45 minutes the last time I did it. But saved me probably hours of research and phone
Yeah.
calls.
So you went there with what information? What did
Just
you-
the address.
Just the address.
I mean, like,
yeah.
literally, they say something like, what are you planning on doing? And I said something like, I just want to know what somebody could do here.
Okay.
Could they build this? Could they build that? You know, what
What's
are,
a piece of vacant land that you're talking about?
this
or-
wasn't occupied, but the house was a tear down.
Okay.
But they're the experts, they know all this stuff, you know, they have it memorized and they are really good with identifying potential issues or problems. So it can be a really helpful resource as opposed to, you know, spending hours on the phone and digging through the websites and stuff like that. So
That's helpful.
go ahead.
That's super helpful.
Yeah, Department of Construction and Inspections is what you're looking for. It's in the municipal building down on Fifth Avenue.
So we got Department of Construction and, sorry.
And inspections.
So there's a setback that you have to have in the property lines. Is there a setback that is required for like a bluff or?
Construction and
Yeah.
inspection.
That's a good question. I mean, so we see all these properties built up on stilts and stuff, right? And I don't know, you know, stuff gets grandfathered in, obviously. I don't know what the current codes are in terms of building requirements. If it's a bluff, you know, an actual bluff, I'm sure there's probably some kind of safety setback. Don't know what that is. That'd be a great question for the city. But, you know, if it's just a steep slope, and especially if something was already built there, you know, but again, there's different factors that go into that question too. I mean, is it a protected green space type area, you know, where it's heavily wooded and they're not gonna let you clear the trees because it helps prevent landslides and stuff like that? That all goes into it as well. Any other resources that you guys have come across or used as it relates to like zoning or finding out some more about properties, Casey?
At one point, we were looking at, I believe, Kent or something like that, and we looked up, oh, well, we'll have to go to the city and all this sort of thing, and then I just looked it up, and you know how you get on the phone lines and they keep on directing you back to the website, and it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, if you just take some time and look through the actual website, it's pretty good. I was really impressed with just, I think Kent had a zoning map where basically you would just click on different areas and go like, it was this zoning, but now it's this zoning, and it's going to be that zoning. So
Yeah.
it's good because then you can just anticipate value or values going up or down depending on the zoning.
Yeah, really good idea to stay on top of proposed or upcoming
Yeah.
zoning changes.
Yeah,
You know, these ones were just the ones we were talking about towards the beginning of class. So a lot of these were put in place in April. Some of them were existing already, but yeah, obviously that's gonna change when we talk about highest and best use for the property.
Yeah.
You know, if something goes from single family, whatever, to, you know, low rise, that's gonna change the value quite a bit in terms of what, you know, the maximum value for that property is based on what could be built there and, you know, as opposed to just the existing house. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, when I had the vacant land listing and I went to this Department of Construction and Inspection, they sent me, or they advised me to go to the Department of Transportation because there was a stream that needed to be diverted. And that department kind of explained to me and showed me an example of someone that built on a piece of property and didn't fix that water running through, and they showed me pictures of how the cement looked wet, and this person had built a whole house on this property and ended up having to just tear it down because it was just all messed up underneath, but not fixing that not sewer line, but waterway.
Yeah, diverting it.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And that was Department of
Uh-huh.
Transportation. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so and I don't know exactly what departments handle what, you know,
Yeah.
it's funny sometimes who handles that, but the city will direct you, obviously, like Nadine was talking about, to people. And that's another reason why it could be a good idea to go have that consultation with the city. Obviously not for every property or every listing, but something where there's some funky stuff going on, or like if you have a vacant land listing, in the city, because they'll be able to say, you should go talk to these people, you know, because of something that's going on the property.
Right.
You know, environmentally critical areas as well. We don't have a lot of this in Seattle, but flood zones will be on this too. And I think either the county, I'm pretty sure most of the counties in Western Washington have a similar map. If it's not quite as in-depth as this, but like it'll be able to show you, is any portion of your property in a flood zone? You know, that kind of stuff that can be good to know, and insurance is probably gonna flag anyways. Yeah.
Maybe you guys talked about this. I can't remember where to find about additional dwellings on properties, small homes.
Yeah. We touched on that a little bit, so.
Oh, sorry. Then
No,
never
no,
mind.
no, it's good, we'll go back to it. So I'm gonna send these out, but single family cheat sheets, we talk about ADUs.
Yeah.
And this references, CAM 116A,
Yeah.
116B for backyard cottages. So just by Googling like Seattle CAM 116A,
Thank
will
you.
take you to kind of that document or that site, where it goes into that a little bit.
Thank you.
The question I have about that is when on that same zoning,
Mhm.
anyway, the tandem housing, isn't that an ADU setup?
I think that's talking about, building, meaning like if you scrape whatever's on that lot and then you go in and you're gonna build something new, can you do two houses roughly the same size on that lot? This way, kind of as you see on the cheat sheet. Because it says up here under ADUs, you know, backyard cottages and attached ADUs are permitted citywide. But as Christian was saying, both require the owner to occupy one of the units as their primary. You know, so there's different stuff, but if a client or an owner is gonna live in the house, in theory, it's allowed. But, you know, there's specific standards and stuff like that, that they'll wanna address.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, I think that this is, I just Googled Seattle, CAM 116A, establishing, you know.
Save this one too.
Yeah, so attached dwelling units, goes over some of this stuff, what's required. And then I think 116B was the other one.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then this one is for detached. So it might be a good PDF to save as well if you want to hand this out to clients thinking about, if you know for sure, because a lot of times buyers just tell us, you know, on the first meeting, I want to buy something where it either has a dadu or something, or has a property where I can build it in the back. So this would be a good little reference, 3-page, 4-page PDF to have as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's CAM 116A and 116B. If you guys want to
Awesome.
Google it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else, questions, resources that you guys have used? I'm far from the zoning expert, but these resources have helped me at least direct my clients so that I can be a resource for them. Obviously, if you have any clients thinking about building anything on a property, you need to make sure that they're talking to the city or whoever the authority is so that they get the sign off firsthand that they can or cannot do what they want with the property, so it's not on you as the realtor saying yes you can or no you can't, right? Okay, well that was all I had today. Thank you for coming.
Thanks,
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thank
Super
you.
helpful.
Very
Yeah.
informative.
I'm gonna stick around, so any other questions or unrelated technology questions that you guys have, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, you're awesome. Thanks, John.
Thank you for coming.
Uh,